Welcome, everyone, to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm your host, Courtney. Our goal here is to give you some actionable takeaways that will help you lead your teams. Thanks for joining us on this leadership journey. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm your host, Courtney, and I've got Tom Armstrong and Tatiana Dominguez back in the studio today, two fantastic managers to help us delve into another case study that somebody sent in. So welcome, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
So the way we're going to roll is I'm going to read the paragraph that the person sent in. And then Tatiana, you tell us how you think you would give them some advice or how to handle this. And then Tom, you'll jump in afterwards with anything that you think of. Okay?
Cool.
So here it is. I'm currently managing a team in which one individual, whom I'll refer to as Sam, is struggling significantly with self-direction and critical thinking. Sam is new to the industry, and while he is eager to learn, he requires constant hand-holding, struggling to work independently or make decisions without explicit guidance. Despite my efforts to provide him with resources, mentorship, and regular check-ins, he consistently faces challenges in problem-solving and seems hesitant to take initiative. This dependency is beginning to affect team productivity as I frequently have to divert my attention to guide him through even basic tasks. I'm concerned about his developmental trajectory and the broader impact on our team if he cannot become more self-sufficient. Any advice on fostering independence and critical thinking would be greatly appreciated. All right, Tatiana.
All right. Yeah, this is a tough one. And only because what I would say is I think this person should look into situational leadership and then kind of build up that way. Like, is that person really
enthusiastic beginner?
Yeah. Or somewhere else in the
disillusioned learner
in the chart
next. Yeah.
It might be that you might need to start documenting behaviors and push them out the door.
Oh, really? So you're ready to say goodbye to this person. I love it. Tom, hold on, Tati. Let's see if Tom can help. Anything? Or you think no way? Yeah, I'm curious how long the person's been there because that would determine. Yeah. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, it's good. I think to Tatiana's point, it's possible folks in the hiring department hired the wrong person, right? That's on them. I don't feel like this is this person's fault that they're in a situation that's over their head. That's the person to put them there. It's their fault. If this person is having regular meetings, check-ins, they're truly doing all their due diligence, and yet this person continues to not be able to achieve deliverables by deadlines. But I don't know if it's about critical thinking. The problem is not whether or not they're thinking critically. I think, based on the little bit of information I have, I would first look at whether or not the problem is not about critical thinking. The problem is, are they delivering their deliverables by deadline, right? And if they're not, the reason for that could be that there's a problem with critical thinking. I don't know. There might be a bunch of different things that are elements that are leading up to that. But my primary thing would be if I've tried everything and I feel like this is just not working, I definitely need to create an action plan where the deliverables are super clear, the deadlines are super clear. We have set deadlines that collaboratively based on not just what I think they need to be able to achieve, but also what they believe they can realistically do. If we can't find an agreement there in the action plan, then that might be an indicator in and of itself. But if we can create an action plan that we both agree on, if we can't agree on it, that's a different conversation. But let's say that we can create an action plan where they are able to, they say, yeah, these deadlines are realistic for me. And I then have to believe in their ability. They have to believe in their ability. I have to set that up. I cannot create an action plan with this being my mindset. I need to get rid of this person. The only way to do it legally is to do an action plan that they fail at so that then I can push them out the door.
A PIP.
A PIP. Well, a performance improvement plan is awesome. Sometimes I wish I had one just because it gives me clarity on something. There's times when I'm like, where's my clarity? Wouldn't it be great to have a performance, like just that clarity that people get from a PIP, performance improvement plan, can be essential to their own, like the thing that turns the light on. If you create a performance improvement plan, do not do it with the feeling of, this is my way to get them out the door. It has to be, this is my way to help them achieve success based on an agreed format. And then if they fail at that, the understanding is, we're going to move you out of this position.
Yeah.
That has to be pre-known, right? I'm not going to surprise them. You failed the PIP, now you're fired. It's going to be, in order to continue in this role, in this organization, these are the deliverables and the time frame by which you need to have them done. And you have to be specific on quality, but the requirements are, because you might do all that and the quality's not at your level. So it's like, what are the requirements for quality? What are the requirements for time? And what are the requirements for budget and all that? Set that up. And then if they don't hit those benchmarks and they signed the form ahead of time and they understand because it's written on the form, this failure to achieve these might lead to your termination or change of your role. Then you've done your due diligence in the event that they don't succeed, but you have to be coaching them and thinking, I'm going to help this person achieve those goals. And if it just cannot happen, then truly you hired the wrong person. You're doing everybody a favor, including them, by transitioning to the role that works best for them or transition them out of the company so they can find the role that works best for them. This is not the fit. But you don't know that now. You could say you've done everything, but maybe you haven't. So by the end of the PIP, you go, I have truly done everything I could.
I would say even before you get to a PIP, because I agree you're probably going to need one in this case. The hard part about a PIP is that what it seems to me that the person is asking for is for this person to take initiative. And that's hard to put into a PIP, right? Because that's kind of an intangible, beyond the PIP. What I do think is that I don't get any hint in this paragraph that the person has actually told the person that there's a problem with this.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think what they're giving them is explicit guidance, resources, mentorship, and regular check-ins. He consistently faces challenges in problem solving and seems hesitant to take initiative, right? And he's constantly asking him for things, right? It is in situational leadership. It's that third bucket, right? Where you're not a risk taker. It's the cautious but capable contributor. And if you want to hear more about that, we're doing a huge series on those that we have. But I do think that what's interesting about that is I wonder if the person has actually had that hard conversation of not like, oh, here's an idea or try this or here, yes. Because a lot of times we think we're doing mentorship is giving them the answer or keep providing it. So then what happens is the person keeps coming back to you for more advice. And you're like, why is this person not getting it on their own? Instead of sitting down and saying, Tom, you know this stuff. Why do you keep coming to me? I feel like you have an issue with taking initiative and taking some risks on problem solving this on your own. Let's try it next week where you don't come to me and you make the decisions and you see what happens. And we're okay if something falters. You know what I mean? Because that's learning.
I have to check my behavior and know that when they falter, I also behave in accordance to what I said, that if it's like we're a pro failure, environment or like we're okay with it, I have to actually not look angry when they fail. Right?
Because it doesn't sound like this person is doing, or just say, at least if it's not a deal with this is the area that you can make decisions on. Because I feel like a lot of times we don't want to have that tough conversation. And it's actually a lot less tough than doing a PIP. So have this conversation first, see if that shakes up the person enough to go, okay, I'm going to try it. And then if not, then I think you go to this. But I think there's that step where you're not being explicit as to what is really bothering you.
One thing that can also happen, Christine, this is a great point, what you made. I'm a little more relaxed about the PIP than I think a lot of people are. I feel like it's less of a threat and more of a tool.
Yeah.
And so you can call it an action plan if you want, but it creates a framework that makes total clarity in terms of expectations. And I've had conversations, we really promote this idea of doing affirming feedback. Make sure you're giving a lot of this affirming feedback. That also tells people the direction you want them to go. And corrective feedback, but you want to err on the side of affirming. And I remember one person saying when I was giving them we're at this stage, they're like, well, all I've been hearing from my managers how great I am. So what are you even talking about? You don't even know what you're talking about. And I was like, it's interesting. You're hearing a lot of positive feedback. That's good. I'm giving you corrective feedback right now. And I'm going to stand by it and we're going to quantify it. And these are the changes. It doesn't negate everything else that you're doing well, but these are key areas where we need change. And I have had absolutely people when I draw the line super clear, this is where the line is, for years, they do not cross that line. They know it now. It's been really clear.
Yes. We're all afraid of it.
And they would have crossed that line had I not really made it like a piece of paper with a signature on it. I'm like no one truly fears me, people in podcast land. No, but they like to joke around that they do.
We do. We do like to joke around. But I think of anyone, you probably give the most pips for sure, don't you think? But because you see it as a tool.
I do, but they end with people smiling.
Yes, you actually have more success with them. Most people use them because, HR makes them or something, but you use it as a real tool. And I
lead with that. I lead that conversation. I'm like, I just want to make sure that for me, sometimes I need that real clarity. That's what we're doing right now, is just because I think this could really benefit us and help us to achieve those goals that we haven't been able to achieve yet, And if not, and I'm here for you. It's a collaborative. I think making it the collaborative process. If I bring the piece of paper, I sit it down in front of them, there's the objectives. You got to hit these, buddy. That feels terrible. But let's talk about the problem. Let's try to figure out root causes for those problems, because that can illuminate some things for me. And then we'll design an action plan based on that knowledge. Collaboratively, people feel like supported, not attacked.
Yeah. Good point. Okay. So for this, we have the holidays coming up. And so for how we're going to end today is we're going to say one bit of gratitude or appreciation for somebody who you thought that you learned from as a leader early in your career. Someone at work who you learned from something specific, if you could think of it, early in your career. Anybody got one?
I have one.
Okay. Who?
I came into this organization as a teaching artist, 20 years ago. And Wendell Ramsey was one of my first, he was kind of a supervisor.
Yeah.
He was sort of a supervisor. I had a direct supervisor, but he was really involved to make sure that this project at this school was a success. And one of the first things he did was he sat down with me in a very friendly way. We didn't know each other. And he just said, hey, I can't wait to work with you. I'm going to tell you right now that the one thing that you can't do is show up late. If you show up late, we're not going to get along. And I was like, cool, I'm going to show up on time. No problem. That thing, he was so kind in the way he said it, but he's like, here, that thing I'm talking about,
that's
like, there's the line. That's the line. Don't cross that.
Yeah.
And we're good. We're going to have a great time. He and I are like such close friends.
Yeah. I
really admire him so much. He's put me through really challenging situations just personally, like the swimming in the ocean in the freezing temperatures, whatever. Mm-hmm. We've done 25-mile walks together, in one day. Just funny stuff that he and I put ourselves through. We're very different people in a lot of ways, but he's someone I really admire, but also because he does say, don't cross this. And I could say the same to him as a friend now too. Like, hey, this thing bothers me, this. And so the candor is important, but I learned so much from him in that first year working with him as my mentor.
I love it. Here's to Wendell. Yes. All right, Tatiana.
More than 20 years ago, I worked at Eddie Bauer, and my manager, his name was Dave. I think one of the things that, on this conversation of difficult conversations and honesty and transparency, he was a very transparent leader, and he would have very difficult conversations with employees or associates. And he had it with such care and integrity for the person that I always looked at him like, oh, he's a really good manager, because he really cared about the people that he was giving feedback to. And so he was a really good leader.
That's awesome. Well, your assignment, both of you, is to let those people listen to this podcast, if you can get in touch with them, and let them hear this little goodness before the holidays. So, Christine, I'd hate to keep talking because I know I tend to do that. I know I tend to do it. One thing I forgot to mention about Wendell's thing is he also told me the impact of it. He said, if you show up late, it's good. These kids are going to be wondering where you are. I can't have an adult letting these kids down. That's what made me believe in it. If he just told me it would have been, oh, I have this authority figure telling me what to do. But he explained the impact, and that's what really grabbed me. So anyway,
I want to say something about Wendell too. Just to say about Wendell. One of the things about Wendell in terms of his leadership is he finds the little thing that you need to help you move forward, even if that's like you need a little snack right now because you're very low energy or whatever, and he'll make sure that you have that to move forward. And sometimes it's so small, like it's chicken at a retreat, and sometimes it's really big, like, hey, this order got messed up and I need it to be fixed like this, like this, like this, but always good feedback. We need to do a whole podcast just about Wendell. Yes. And his leadership style. He would like that. We could too. I just have been thinking about a million Wendell stories that I have too, because he's such a storyteller, such a superhero, and he's such a he does come through in really clutch moments. He is a consummate team member. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you, Wendell. Hopefully you'll listen. Tom will make you now. And I thank you both for being on the show, and happy holidays, everybody. Happy holidays. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'd like to give a special shout out to our podcast producer, Richard Francisco. Check out our notes for any details. And if you get anything out of this, please follow us. And if you enjoy it, please take a moment to rate us or write a comment. It will mean the world to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you just can't get enough, follow me on TikTok and check out tlpnyc.com/podcast for more information.